I'm Kelly Stanley and I'm making my savory spud soup, which I did for the Hood Dairy Cook-Off last year. I choose for this recipe the white potatoes that have a thin skin. It doesn't matter which kind, you could go with another one, but the starch content is different for each potato, so the thinner skins are a little bit better. I did the sweet potato because everyone's kind of like, well, white potatoes don't have much nutrition. And your sweet potatoes, add a little bit of that and also add a bit of flavor. To determine how a potato is done, I personally pull it out and try to smush it with my tongs. If it stays hard, it's not done. Time with prosciutto, you're going to go really thin because you're wrapping it and keeping it fresh. But since we're baking it, we want it a little thicker, and we're just going to lay it on top. Right like that in the oven for maybe 10 minutes. You just want to keep checking because it does burn. I use the green of my leeks. The French always say never to waste anything, and this has just as much flavor in it, so we can use it. If you care that your potato leek soup is perfectly white, then you wouldn't, but we're also mixing with sweet potato and color doesn't matter to us right at the moment, so we're going to use this. We're going to rinse these out once they're cut in half because they can be pretty dirty. And I keep them together for easy cutting afterwards and fold away. Sometimes you can see some dirt and you can rub it out. Chef putting in his 2 cents worth. Well, the trick with cutting an onion is using a sharp knife because when it's sharper it breaks less of the capsules and so you're less likely to cry that way. And then I'm going to go with the grain. You can see the lines of the onion here. So I'm actually going to slice just like that. And I come up and around, and I can cut this off as well if I want to or not. If I was mincing, I would leave that there. Taking my prosciutto, because again we don't want it to burn. It is still movable like bacon would be. We want it to be really crispy and that when I pick it up, it actually lifts right up off the tray. Whenever I use horseradish, I try to use fresh horseradish. It's a bit more pungent. You don't have to deal with, I believe they store it in oil, but to be honest, I'm not sure. So I peel it first, and I use zester to do mine because this is pretty fibrous, and it can take a long time to really get minced. And if you get a big chunk of horseradish, you're going to go whoo and get that really big kick, or you want it to be a nice mellow kick. The store didn't have any habaneros, so I chose the next hottest pepper that they had. So some of the things with using fresh peppers are they're not always in season and your grocery store doesn't always have them. So knowing how to substitute is really important. When I do use these, I'm actually not going to put my hands directly in it when I'm cutting because the capsaicin oil gets on your fingers, and if you rub your eye or your skin, it'll really burn. And it also can get underneath your fingernails and burn underneath for quite a while. So if I don't have plastic gloves, which I think a lot of us at home don't, I'll actually use a baggie. I don't measure out my oil, I just look and I roll it around to make sure that it covers the bottom of the pan. I need a little bit extra because I'm putting quite a few things in here. Throw in my horseradish. And garlic is love, so the more you put in, it's perfectly okay. The better. Feed it to everyone that you know, right. So when you kiss them goodbye, your breath all smells the same. And it's okay to mix butter and oil. It keeps your burning point a little bit higher, but adds the flavor of butter. So a lot of times I'll do half and half. I'll start with my oil because once the food goes in, it cools the pan down, and then I'll add my butter because then my temperature's not so hot so it won't burn. Seasoning your food during the cooking process is a little bit better because salt is what they call homogeneous, which means that it disperses itself equally throughout what it's on or in, which is why you salt your water as well. And that way, instead of doing it on the top and just getting a bite of salt, it's already mixed in and blended in. Both milk and chicken stock for my liquids. Milk is going to give it that creamy texture that your traditional potato leek soup has, and your chicken stock is going to give a little bit more flavor than just your milk would, and also thin it out just a bit without having to use water. So I kind of wing it, but I measured it when I did my recipe, so you can still follow that. thick, I can taste it and decide, do I want to add a little bit more milk or a little bit more chicken stock? And that will keep your flavor there and allow you to thin it as the consistency that you want. I take my sour cream in my piping bag, and I can do whatever design I want. You can just go like back and forth. One more, and then you can take your knife and spread it so it looks kind of neat, so people are impressed by that. And then I go over to my prosciutto. I do a piece per bowl because I love prosciutto, and I just crumble it right on top. And then it's ready to serve.